All right, welcome back, wormlings. Today we will be talking about chapter 12, which is all about understanding how to support your partner with ADHD. So I'll be talking to those who love folks with ADHD. So let's get right into the author's opening thoughts, right? So months after she started her channel, the author realized that not only brains were watching, but so were hearts. And like I said earlier in today's video, I'll be mainly talking to the hearts. And hearts is the nickname that she gave to her viewers who care for someone with ADHD. And I will also be bringing a heart to talk about their experience loving ADHDers too. I'm your friend. So, but before we get into that, let's keep talking about the author's experience. And as a quick refresher, a brain is someone with ADHD. That's what she calls her viewers with ADHD. So she was used to being the brain in, all her relationships until she got into a relationship with someone with ADHD, which, as we covered before, is someone with both ADHD and autism. She then turned into the heart of the relationship, and because of all the experience she had with herself, she aggressively was trying to help him and impart all of the knowledge onto him that she's acquired over the years. She tried to do all the right things, but she noticed that it seems like nothing was working, and eventually she got to a place where she was feeling lonely, and it felt like he couldn't do nothing right, but at the same time, it's like he wanted to do better. And on top of that, their communication, of course, was a huge challenge, and they never seemed to be able to get through to each other. Right? So eventually she got to a point where she had to start biting her tongue just to not say comments to him that other people have said to her before. Comments such as, why can't you just ... What do you mean you forgot? If you cared about me, you'd fill in the blank, right? And so they eventually ended up in a relationship death spiral where he was terrified to mess up and spent all his energy trying to figure out what he should be doing. And she'd get frustrated about his apparent inaction. She tried every neurodivergent friendly hack and tool, but the harder she tried, the less her needs were getting met. And these are issues that she's seen happen over and over in her community. Unmet expectations, frustration, struggling to manage the day-to-day and their brain, trying to manage them, having guilt, shame, loss of respect, and even losing the relationship in its entirety. She's even seen these issues play out in her own childhood with her mom and her dad and her brother. She's even been on the other side of it in previous relationships where others took on the heart role, and she ended up relinquishing her autonomy and stuck in shame at her non-ability to adult properly. So this leaves everyone wondering, what is it that we're doing wrong, and why can't we just make it work? And before I proceed on to the video, yes, wormlings, I did cut all my hair off. Yeah, it looked better. Like, I'm not gonna say it looked bad. It don't look bad, but it was looking crispy on that first day. I'm gonna put a picture right here. I know this is off topic. I'm gonna put a picture right here. It was looking good. Let's go ahead and transition into what we've learned. So obviously all relationships can run into the same issues of unmet expectations. It's just once again exacerbated with ADHD. Relationship problems are one of the most common reasons adults with ADHD actually seek treatment. Now, whatever side that you're on, remember that it's normal to feel the frustration, the anger, the guilt, the shame. And it's also not normal to have these relationship challenges. First thing, we care a lot more than it looks. So we are trying. ADHDers oftentimes put a significantly higher amount of effort in than neurotypical people just to achieve the same results. And unfortunately, it can still look as though effort isn't being put in. Next thing is that improvement takes time and progress is rarely linear. It's not unreasonable for you to want the person you love to improve, but what can be unreasonable is the rates and magnitude of change you expect to happen. Our symptoms can't change, but we can change our level of functionality given the symptoms. Keep that in mind, okay? Supports also aren't designed with us in mind. A lot of common solutions to relationship issues aren't made with neurodivergence in mind, so oftentimes the solutions just don't translate the same, or at its worst, it can backfire, lead to more frustration, and even re-traumatize everyone involved. We're not struggling on purpose, so struggling is not a choice. ADHD related challenges are deemed that because they are, they're challenges. So second thing is that the double empathy problem. So there were theories proposed for some time that autistic people struggle to communicate due to impaired empathy and theory of mind, which is a term used to describe the ability to imagine what might be going on in another person's head. But in 2012, an autism researcher named Dr. Damian Milton created the double empathy theory, which states that those difficulties that we mentioned earlier are a problem for both sides. Both the autistic and neurotypical person, when together, experience the same problems. It's not just the autistic person. And although this study had to do with autism, there's a lot of overlap trait-wise with ADHD, and the same issues present itself in our relationships as well. Now, the good news, though, is that just being aware of this is a solid first step into making improvements. Number 3, there are reasons why we can't just. So as a society, we assume people's intelligence and capabilities based on characteristics like their verbal ability, long-term recall, or even the work they do for a living. But the thing is, these indicators aren't black and white answers. Cognitive ability is actually cognitive abilities. Okay, so simple tasks can often require multiple cognitive abilities, and some combinations of abilities are more challenging for some brains than others. And this is what can make it hard for an ADHDer to do one thing, yet easy to do another thing, even if it makes no sense, you know, to the neurotypical mind. For example, the author has high verbal comprehension but poor response inhibition and weak working memory, versus her partner, who can do high-level work with visual and spatial processing or pattern recognition, but he can only hold on to small chunks of new data at a time. So in their relationship, this can look like the author telling her partner how important flowers are to her, then going on tangents surrounding the topic, and then her partner failing to grasp that, you know, she thinks it's romantic when someone gets her flowers. By the time she finishes talking, it's gone, right? Inconsistency is part of the deal. Sometimes we can do the thing and sometimes we can't. At times, you and your partner will have to recognize and embrace this within each other. Next is that emotions get in our way. Sometimes emotions like shame and anxiety can become huge obstacles when it comes to completing tasks. ADHD traits are two sides of the same coin. A lot of our traits are strengths in the right situation. And here's some examples. So, impulsivity can also be spontaneous romantic gestures. Being motivated by urgency equals being great in a crisis. Divergent thinking is equals innovative problem-solving skills. Hyperactivity can end up being infectious energy. Shorter time horizons can end up being ability to find joy in the moment. Motivated by novelty can end up being often trying, learning, and sharing something new, aka the relationship's not gonna get boring. And emotionally sensitive can end up being caring deeply. You know, when ADHDers get the support for their issues that they need, the coin can flip more to the positive than the negative side. As I said before, I have a heart right here, my girlfriend.
Really good.
You want to introduce yourself, baby?
I go by Finesse.
She's a children's book author, and she also has her own YouTube channel called Hey Finesse, where you do all different types of stuff, commentary, reactions.
A bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, vlogs, things of that nature. So if you're fucking with that, check out the description. Yeah, I have her in there. I always have her in there. But anywho, let's go ahead and talk about. I guess my first question for you is what you've learned in your experience dating people with ADHD.
It's an interesting experience. You do have to take, if you have no prior knowledge of ADHD or neurodivergency, then it's very important to take the time to learn about it. Because it definitely is a spectrum. Some people's, I guess you would say, symptoms are a little bit more severe than others. You have to take the time to actually know your partner, and this comes with even when dating somebody who's not neurodivergent. Like, you have to take that time to understand them, understand exactly what they need, but also understand what you need as well, you know, because sometimes from prior experience, you can only be so patient. You know what I'm saying? And you can only be so patient, you can only be so overly understanding. But if you and a person are not aligned, you should not feel bad about that. That's any relationship though, period. This just, I feel like these rules apply across the board, but you know, a little bit more, like, you have to pay a lot more attention when you are dating someone, when you are neurotypical, dating someone who does have ADHD or autism slash ADHD, whatever.
Someone
Neurodivergent. You have to take that time to, a little bit more extra time if you really care about that person, because their world is not entirely similar to ours. You know what I mean? Like, your world is, you know, how your brain is not, you know, maneuvering in the same way that a neurotypical brain would move. You know what
would you say, like, sorry to cut you off, but what would you say have been like some of the biggest challenges that you've encountered? Like, and I'll say, like, outside of, you know, people just being shitty, but like just ADHD related challenges.
The previous partner I was with, she was a lot more on the spectrum. I feel like, I don't diagnose anybody, but she may have also been like on the autism spectrum. We speculated together, but the only thing I can confirm is ADHD. And some of the challenges that I faced with her was, you know, the frequent escalation of moods. You know what I mean? Like, when something to me,
like turning up like really easily.
Yeah, like to me it may be like a small issue, and I'm like, hey, like, relax. You know what I mean? I don't say relax, but like,
that's what you be thinking, like, relax.
Yeah, like, yeah, but to her it's like my world is like over.
Crumbling.
You know what I mean? And that was something that was hard to navigate, because as someone who also struggles with mental health issues, it's like it triggers me. You know what I mean? So I was diagnosed with bipolar depression at like 14, 13 years old. And so that's another challenge that you have to face, is like, if I also have like a mental health issue and this person also has mental health issues,
which realistically, that's most human beings.
Most human beings, right? But I don't see like ADHD. Yes, but it is a disability. You know what I mean? But this person didn't just have ADHD. They also had depression and anxiety and all these other things. So I understood the layers. That didn't make it any easier though to deal with.
Right.
Also, and I know this is not typical for, people who are neurodivergent, but I feel as though she would weaponize the ADHD.
I mean, some people do that.
Yeah, some people do. And I feel like, I'm not saying like she was just making a bunch of excuses, but I feel like, the ADHD in a way was like her crutch to not be a decent person,
Like using it as an excuse.
Yeah.
Like, oh, because I have ADHD.
Yeah.
I can't do this, or I won't do this, instead of trying to find a solution.
Mm-hmm.
And they just kind of let it happen.
And
used it to say that,
And here's the thing: if you never dated anybody with ADHD or who are neurodivergent, it's gonna be a challenge at first, because you have not too much awareness about what the struggles are of a person who has ADHD or who is neurodivergent. Then you're gonna face challenges at first. You know what I mean? Just because you're navigating, you're learning each other. You're, like I said, with any other relationship, you're learning that. But I guess speaking on like how isolating it is to sometimes deal with a person who is neurodivergent, and nobody in your community can really relate to that. You feel me? Like when I was dating this person, I didn't feel like comfortable going to my friends, not because I didn't feel comfortable venting to them, but I just felt like I don't want to paint this person out to be a terrible person, because I understand. I'm speaking on beginning of our situation, our relationship or whatever. I didn't want to paint this person out to be a bad person, but a lot of the things that were tied to the ADHD were triggering to me. But it's like, who do I talk to this about? Because people are like, oh well, if they don't understand the underlying,
the issue.
Yeah, they're not gonna understand, and it's very lonely. You know what I mean? It was very lonely. It's like, because I can't talk to my partner about, you can't talk to the problem about the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are the problem. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it was lonely, because I was just trying to navigate my own feelings, because I don't, you know what I mean? I never want to make anybody feel like they're burning on me or anything like that. Even though somebody who doesn't take control of their ADHD, or they're, trying to do something to, better maneuver throughout this world, you're not taking any steps. It's like, it's burdensome. I have to be honest, it is, because I can't do the work for you. You know what I mean? I understand that, like I said, ADHD or neurodivergency is a disability. You're born with that. I took time to learn about these things.
Right.
Like even the author of this book, I found her channel. You know what I'm saying? Like, I started watching her channel because I am very serious about understanding my partner. If I'm with you, I want to understand you. You know what I mean? And sometimes I want to help you understand yourself. If you don't get it, if you don't fully understand kind of what you're going through, what your mind is going through, I want to help you better understand that.
Right.
I did kind of introduce her to the How to ADHD channel.
It was her.
Yeah. Because it is helpful. You know what I mean? It's a lot of things that you didn't even know that was tied to your ADHD. And sometimes people with ADHD, they tend to, or neurodivergency period, they tend to blame themselves, or not understand oh, this is tied to that. Oh, that's why I do this. Right. That's why I do that. It's like, just so you get a better understanding of yourself. Humans, period, would love to know who they are, understand who they are, understand their minds, and right. I wanted to help you better understand your mind and understand
knowledge yourself.
Yeah, knowledge yourself.
So, okay, going on to the next thing. What would you say were the benefits? When you look overall at the ADHD years that you've been with, including, what would you say, including me? Yeah. When I say ADHD years, it includes me, right? What do you say have been the biggest benefits?
I love how people who are neurodivergent think. It's like, as a neurotypical, we see things I'm not saying black or white, but it's usually just you do a task, you do it. You know what I mean? But people
could be a little bit more tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision, yeah. But people who are neurodivergent, they think literally outside the box, because sometimes they have to. I don't like when my partner masks, because it's like you're shutting off a part of yourself. I like seeing the mask come off. You know what I mean? I like seeing the quirkiness, the weirdness, the weirdness, whatever. I like seeing those things, because I don't know, it's just it's the uniqueness of you. You know what I mean? It may sound corny, but just unapologetically being yourself. You know what I mean? And I feel like we don't need everybody to be this, suit and tie motherfuckers. Sorry if I'm cutting you.
Okay. I'll be cussing all the time.
Everybody don't need to be suit and tie people. Everybody don't need to be these anal people who just focus on
That's non-neurotypical, neurodivergent, or anything. That's period.
But people be like that. We all technically are wearing masks. You know what I mean? But it's just it benefits no one, you know. And I understand, like, you maneuvering through this world, you kind of have to put on a mask so that you can survive, you know.
Right.
But damn, like, I love neurodivergent people. I
Well,
like how
you're
they,
behind closed doors at least, you know,
yeah, and
or around people that, you know, are supposed to care about you and love you.
I love how they like tell you how it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, the person, like, when someone's neurodivergent, sometimes you cannot like say things in code. You can't be like, you know, it'd be nice if I had some flowers today. No, like, hey, you know, can you buy me some flowers every once in a while? You gotta be straightforward, and I like that because, you know, there's no room for like error. There's no room for miscommunication or confusion, because I'm telling you exactly what I want. You know what I mean? But I know as a neurotypical, we're typically we expect somebody to understand what we're thinking. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm saying this, oh, that means, oh, she want flowers, you know? But no, a neurodivergent is like, oh, okay, cool. You know,
Like, it's a generalized statement. Obviously, not everybody, but a lot of
yeah. So it's just, I like that as well. That's a benefit to me because it's like I don't have to guess. You tell me what you want, and I get it. Like, you told me, hey, instead of flowers, can you give me like food? Like, I'm like, okay, noted. Now I know. Okay.
In this section of the chapter, do you feel like there's anything in there that you've learned that you didn't already know?
No, and it's mostly because, like, I learned a lot of this in my previous relationship. I feel like I took the time to learn, like, empathy.
I was gonna ask you then, what part of, like, out of all those things that you were reading out, which one do you think is like the big things that you feel have stuck out like consistently throughout your relationships with, you know, women with ADHD? Like, what's like the part you read you're like, yeah, that be happening a lot, or like, yeah, this is something that's very much like a part of the experience?
The I would say inconsistency is part of the deal, and also empathy. Like, you have to show empathy that comes with it. That's what anybody. But yes, with someone who is neurodivergent, specifically ADHD, that comes with the territory. You know, sometimes they're not going to be 100% across the board. That should be understood before you even decide to partake in a relationship with someone, or even
This is overall, I guess, like, relationships,
yeah.
you know. So what part of these things here do you feel like you heavily, like, which one of these traits do you feel like you love about me, but also kind of like can be a detriment within me? Like if you look at it the way they kind of structure, like, if we look at the left side, you can kind of think of where the problems may lie, and on the right side, kind of where the good things may lie.
I'd say the motivated by urgency. I feel like if we have to get something done, like, your brain gets to working. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll organize this, it'll place this and that, it'll help run things a little bit more smoother because your brain, you know, gets to working, you know. But on the other side of that, I understand. I could tell it causes you immense anxiety as well. You know, like
I get overwhelmed.
You get very, very overwhelmed.
I do. I get very overwhelmed very easily, and it's like I can do things, but like, like, you're right about that. Like, that's definitely one of the biggest things I think. That's good catch, Peg. You would know. You've been here with me for a minute.
I would say emotionally sensitive. Also, I'm gonna go back and forth between them, but emotionally sensitive. Like, I feel like, you know, not that things easily hurt your feelings. I do think you care deeply for me. I know you care deeply for me, maybe right now. But sometimes, and we've had moments, you know, not to go too deep into it, but where, like, your emotions get like heightened, and it's just, I think your brain, like, takes what I'm saying,
turns into like
something that I'm not actually saying. So
like, escalates.
Yeah, escalates it. So I do have to take the time to, like, it just don't happen often, but I have to take time to be like, babe, this is what I actually meant. I do love you. I care about you. Whatever the situation is surrounding, and make it clear what I'm actually trying to say. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, like, my words may not come out as clear as, you know, I would like them to. But always, by the end of the day, I sit down and talk to you and explain to you what I actually meant, and, you know, we work through that. She does have very innovative ideas, but sometimes it's like it comes off know-it-all a little bit. It comes off very like, my way is the best way to do things, and
my way, the highway.
If we don't do it my way, then it's not gonna be the most efficient. Which most of the time is true. I ain't gonna lie. She is very good at that. You know, in a relationship, like, everybody has their strengths. That's her strength for sure. But sometimes it's like, okay, let me take the lead on this. You know what I mean? Like, I can, you know what I'm saying? Like, let me do it.
Allow your input to be
not my input.
heard.
Yeah, and implement it sometimes too. You know,
and implement it.
Right? Like, I'll listen to you, but we're still gonna do it my way.
No, baby. Like, I know, because we've had a conversation about this before. So with that, wormlings, we're gonna go ahead and head over to the toolbox section with Bay. Yeah. All right. So the toolbox section, these are the tools, right? Because we're talking to mainly the hearts today, and these are just the things that you can engage in to help you better support the people that you love or care about, or love and care about, right? So we'll start with the first one, right, which is engaging in empathy, right? And you know, you kind of touched on that earlier about how you felt you can really feel alone, and that's like a sentiment that's felt on both sides of the coin, where like the person with the ADHD and the person, you know, that loves the person with the ADHD can both feel very alone in the relationship when things aren't, you know what I'm saying, when ADHD is not confronted, right? A few ways you can do this is by asking about their experience, asking about their inner world and thought processes, and being an advocate. So can you go ahead and tell the crowd which one of these ways you feel like you've implemented or you've engaged in empathy with?
All of them.
Okay.
Start with the first one. Ask about their experience. I can say with you. I ask, like, what have you gone through as far as like from childhood till now? What are some challenges that you face? What are some things that you do love about, you know, your brain and how it operates? Just ask, you know, because having that communication, have someone explain to you kind of like what they face throughout, you know, the years, you can learn how to better love them. You can be a better heart. You know what I'm saying?
I think those are some good questions for y'all to notate too. I think those are some good questions for people to ask, babe.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so next thing in the toolbox, it's more like a side note kind of thing. You know, what if they don't want to talk about it? What if the brain does not want to talk about the possible ADHD, right? You know, there's some reasons, and starting with they've had it weaponized against them. They don't understand their ADHD or don't know they have ADHD. They don't want to be fixed. They don't feel safe talking about it with you, or at least right now. Talking about it brings up feelings they like to avoid, right? These are some reasons people might not want to talk about the ADHD. And there's, you know, some things that you can implement in order to kind of ease that conversation in. And I'll go ahead and list them out. So we can starting with respect, being mindful of your tone, trying a different approach, and letting them be done if they need to be done, right? So I guess I'll go ahead and ask you, have you had an experience, but has this happened to you where a person who has ADHD or possibly has ADHD hasn't wanted to talk about it? And mind you, when we talk about ADHD too, I don't only want to limit it to like romantic relationships, you know, like also platonic, you know, or familial, you know what I'm saying? Like you can also pull from those experiences too.
Yeah, for sure. Like even with my mother, like she's the avoidant type, you know, she definitely has ADHD. And when it's something that you try to go to her about, she'll do whatever else she has to do to avoid talking about said thing, or even acknowledging, like, because I don't see having like being neurodivergent as something wrong with you. It's not nothing wrong with you. It's just different. You know what I mean? But some people, especially within the Black community, they don't like to. They see it as something wrong, being wrong.
Mental health stigma.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he a little touched. They, you know, crazy stuff we be saying, and it's just like. This is why some people go around unregulated.
Do you think that's why, like, you know, if we're talking about that person, right? Do you think that's why they haven't, you know, gotten diagnosed, or they don't want to have a conversation about it?
Yeah, because the stigma, behind like mental health and disability. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you don't want nothing. We as humans want to be as perfect as possible, but that is an impossible feat. There's no such thing as perfection. But especially within the Black community, some people they don't want to think anything wrong with them. They don't think mental health is real. They think it's some type of scheme employed by the government to hold us back. And it's just like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like it's very stupid thinking. You know what I mean? It's very backwards thinking. And I feel like the major thing is let us be done if we need to be done. That part, let y'all be done because sometimes it's like
you can't push.
Like you don't want to push too much. You know what I mean? You don't want to overly, because that's gonna cause a rise in anxiety, and it's gonna get to a point where that person just freeze. You know what I mean? They're gonna freeze, and
you can't badger somebody into talking about like something that has to do with, you know, their mental health.
And I tried, you know, and that's not healthy to do, because I didn't have the tools to know, like, okay, this is the approach that we should be taking. Like you said, try a different approach. Just ties in that, those go hand in hand. You know, try something else. You know what I mean? If they need a second to just not talk about this, don't keep pushing it. You know what I mean? Because it's not gonna help that person, you know, acknowledge or, you know, even communicate with you how they feel, because their mind is like going like a million miles a second. Like it's essentially like, well, tell me this.
It's not always a fun conversation to have.
Right. So it's just like the anxiety is already building. You know what I mean? Because it's like they don't know how to. Once you got anxiety, if you spare it, because I got anxiety too. I got bad anxiety. Once it's heightened, it's kind of hard to get your thoughts to, you know, it's already hard for people like neurotypical people. So imagine you're neurodivergent when you already have your mind moving every fucking second. It's like then you're asking me to explain something to you when my emotions are everywhere right now. That's not going to work. So
mind you, I feel like I just want to make a note of this. Like, this doesn't mean like
don't ever talk about it.
Yeah, like if you've already tried on multiple occasions and you tried being respectful and you tried being mindful of your tone, you tried different approaches and stuff, and that person just don't want to do it, like that person's not taking themselves seriously and they're not taking the relationship they have with you seriously.
We're not just talking about having ADHD. Also, like when it comes to, and like, you know, try to beg somebody to go get some help. You know what I'm saying?
Right, just getting help. Period.
Like, okay,
like,
well, if you don't want to get help, then there's nothing. It's frustrating. What can I really do?
Like, you gotta, this is where I think it's important, like, you don't have to stay, like, sometimes you gotta let people go. Like, when people don't want to get help for something that's not only hurting themselves but hurting you, you don't have to stay. You can go.
She makes it, Jessica, that's her name. She makes it very clear that you don't have to stay. Sometimes it's best just to walk away, because if you're not getting what you need out of a relationship and neither is that person, it's like
You can't keep beating a dead horse.
yeah, you can't just
Whether it's a romantic relationship, familial, or anything,
be willing to walk away.
like, you can't make somebody want to help themselves. If they don't want to help themselves, like, you can't force them. You can't, like, if they don't want to help themselves, and even if they do go and get the help, like, a lot of people, they're not gonna actually genuinely participate in the help. Like, you could try to push them and they'll be in the therapy not doing no work on themselves. They won't, or
I experienced that in my last relationship. Me and previous person I was with, their mother, was cool, and her mother was so keen about getting this motherfucker in therapy, and she did end up going to therapy, but like I felt like she just wasn't fully present in it,
because she felt like forced. She didn't want to be there.
She didn't want to. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's kind of hard when I'm trying to be the best heart I can be for you, and you're not working with me. But the difference between that situation and now, you are constantly trying to become a better person. You know what I mean?
And I think
to default to because it's like sometimes like she overly pushes herself. You know what I mean? She has these expectations of herself that, it's like you're doing great. Damn.
the hell?
It's a bird.
Yeah. Did it like crash?
It was on the roof. Like you got shot. But sometimes like you be overly putting so much pressure on yourself that you don't realize like you're doing a lot better than you've done in previous years. You know what I mean? And you're actively doing the work to constantly, improve and evolve. You know what I mean? You want to be a better you. You know what I mean?
I always do.
And you do whatever is necessary to become a better you, which is what I love, because then I can work with you in your brain. You know what I mean? Because it's like I don't expect you to be like straight 5-star across the board when it comes to like doing certain things, but we can work through things. You know what I'm saying? We can communicate through things because you're willing to do so.
Tool number 2 is choose your battles, right? So you can do this by prioritizing, letting them fail, letting some stuff go, finding other solutions with the milk carton rule. So the milk carton rule is inspired by a story of a real life couple where the wife would leave milk out after pouring some for her morning coffee. And whenever the husband came downstairs for breakfast, he would have to use warm milk for his cereal. Then the husband would ask the wife to, put the milk back in the fridge, but she kept forgetting and leaving it out. So one way to resolve the issue is to keep reminding the wife to put the milk back, but the husband has another option, which is buying his own carton of milk. What this shows us is that, many times a problem can be solved in a way that does not depend on us being able to change our often ADHD related behavior.
Things that I've had to, learn. One is let us fail portion of that.
Or let them fail.
Let them fail, right? I had a major issue in my last relationship where, I was sort of like, I was being the parent, the therapist, the lover, the friend. I was trying to play so many roles at once, and it gave me anxiety sometimes to let this person fuck up, because I knew like the reaction would be so like, you know what I mean, and I knew it would cause me more anxiety, so I was trying to be like help them avoid failure. But the best way to learn is through failure. You know what I mean? Sometimes we're not meant to play parents to, especially romantically, we're not meant to play parents to, I love her, you know what I mean, the person that we're in love with or whatever. And that's something that I didn't even learn to let go of when I got with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're very big on like your autonomy and, my womanly autonomy and doing things on your own, and, not like me looking at you like you're some like, like child. Yeah, like that you can't go, right, that you ain't gotta, because I was so used to doing that in my last relationship. You feel me? So that's something. And also let some stuff go is another talking point that I want to touch on, because some issues is just like, it's nothing in the world. There are mistakes that are going to happen. And it will be the underlying cause of that mistake happening is ADHD. Now, we're not talking about cheating or nothing like that, but if something like,
like smaller.
Yeah, let's say like you left like a bowl or a pot on the stove, right, and it burns, right, and I make
like the other day.
Yeah, the other day, and I get mad, like, damn, like I didn't get mad, but I chose to be like, oh, like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, it's not who cares, but just like, it's not worth like arguing with you over when I know like it's just a simple mistake of forgetting. Yeah, so some stuff is not worth arguing over. I
was able to salvage some of the rice.
Yeah,
the bottom did burn,
and I'm still trying. It's been days, like almost a week, trying to.
Yeah, but it's okay. Like, it's getting there.
But that's the point I'm trying to make. Just let it go. You know what I mean? It's not like, honestly, that shit is not gonna matter next week. The pop, it's not gonna matter to me next week. So why the fuck are we? Why would I sit here and just?
It don't matter, cuz girl, I don't give a damn.
Why would I sit here and argue with you over a pot on the stove that you forgot. You know, your mind slipped. It happens. It is what it is. Or if let's say it's something that you habitually do, like you always forget to, I don't know, like restock. I don't know, I'm making up an example. Like you forget to put toilet paper back into the bathroom after the roll has ended, and it's like you always forget that. It's something like it's obviously something that you're just not gonna remember to do. So I'll just make it part of my daily task to do it. You know what I mean? It's not overwhelming me or anything. It's just something that I would like for you to do. But if it's something that you can't do, you do some of the other things. So it's just like, okay.
I feel like that's where communication comes in, and like having a conversation about like the things that like you know, strengths and weaknesses. I think coming up again, like, okay, if I'm not good at this, can you do this? And whatever you're not good at, I'll do that.
Right.
And stuff like that. If I were to like, you know, talk about one where it's like, especially with the letting us fail part, where, you know, they touched on, like, they gave the example of like parents, where it's like the parents oftentimes like they want to try to like control or even coddle, you know what I'm saying? And it's like all you're doing is stunting your kids' growth.
Yeah.
If you're constantly like not allowing them to figure things out on their own.
Yeah.
I was able to like fall, you know, and bump my head and get back up. And I think, you know, that's an important thing for a person to learn at a young age, you know, that they can get back up, even if it means like going through like a different route to get back up. You know, I think especially when you have like you're neurodivergent, like a lot of times people gonna tell you it's only one way you can do it, but like oftentimes like I think it's important to encourage like, okay, like yeah, like maybe they can figure out doing it another way.
Innovative thinking.
Like let them figure it out, you know. And maybe the way that they figure it out wouldn't be the way that you would do it, but it's a way that it works for them. Right. And that's okay. Your child is an individual, you know, like let them breathe their individuality and, you know, build their personality and their personhood, you know. Tool number 3 would be collaborate on solutions. So when it comes to, you know, ADHD related challenges, it's really important that you and, you know, in your brain that you guys collaborate on things together. Some, you know, ways to go about this is by being clear on the goal, allowing them to achieve the goal in a way that works for them. So this is kind of like lightly, I guess, segueing into what I was talking about. Looking for the and staying in your lane.
The one I want to touch on is, first one is be clear on the goal. That kind of touches on what I spoke on earlier as far as like people who are neurodivergent. They love directness. They love, you know, be clear on what, you know, what the main goal of what you're trying to accomplish with, whether it's your partner, your friend, your family member. Be clear on what you're trying to accomplish together as far as whatever situation you're dealing with. And the second one I want to touch on is stay in your lane. Kind of what I just touched on as far as like me dealing with issues with, you know, being the friend, the lover, the parent, you know, all that. And she spoke on it in the book where it's like it definitely kills romance. You know, when you're sitting here playing on these other roles, like it's hard for your partner to see you as a partner rather than they see you as like, you know,
like an authoritative figure almost.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's weird. You know? And that's why it's very important for us as hearts to remember this person is capable of doing things on their own, and we don't have to play every role. You know what I mean? And if they're requiring you to play every role, you need to set boundaries, as what she spoke on in the book as well. You need to set boundaries and let me know, like, hey, I can only be this for you. You know what I mean? I can't be every other role that you're needing in your life 24/7 because that's not fair to me and it's draining on me, honestly.
Tool number 4 is look for the good. And some ways you can go about doing this are by noticing their effort, flipping the coin, assuming the best intent, and celebrating their successes. So would you like to go ahead and, you know, touch on each of these and give us an example of one of them?
Yeah, like reading this, it just let me know like I've done all of these. I say like I feel like I do all of these, but I feel like sometimes, like in my first situation, I hate to keep bringing that up, but it's my first experience with somebody who was neurodivergent. The assuming best intent, because sometimes, you know, if somebody does something that may annoy us or bother us, especially if it's our partner, you're like, oh, you should know better. But sometimes somebody is trying their best, and I learned like most of the time with you is definitely positive intent behind what you're doing or what you're saying to me. You know, even if at first it doesn't come off like that, I'm learning to assume like, okay, she's actually like she's doing this because, you know, whether it's to like help benefit us in some type of way or whatever, even if I can't see it from that angle. I'm not in your head, but I never assume that you're doing something with, you know, malicious intent. Yeah. Also, you know, like people who have ADHD or neurodivergent, they do y'all love that
recognition,
like noticing the effort for sure. Saying that like, hey, I noticed that you know, let's say like you sometimes you got shower. Not saying you do this, but you left the water on every time you got shower. But then for like a week straight, or like 3 days straight. Hell, it can be on 3 days. You've been going 3 days straight, and you've been getting out of the shower, turn the water off. It's like, hell yeah, like thank you. You know what I mean? Like I see you doing your thing. I know that wasn't easy trying to remember that because you done formed the habit of leaving it on, and it's hard to get your brain to kind of follow that like continuous habit. But you've been doing it, even if it's only for 3 days, and you revert back to leaving it on. Like it's okay. She got 3 days this time. Next week, you know.
It's about consistency, but like because I mean like that. Also, I feel like it's important to know that like especially with like men, like don't celebrate the bare minimum, you know.
No.
Like just because they have ADHD doesn't mean like other factors like misogyny and stuff aren't at play. And like I feel like sometimes when we look at a lot of ADHD things, like someone could read this and end up like
just putting up with a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, putting up with a lot of bullshit just because the person
has ADHD
or possibly has ADHD or is neurodivergent or something. You know what I'm saying? And it's like no, like also do remember like some people don't have the best intent. Some people do have malicious intent, and you got to kind of learn the difference of what that looks like so you can kind of suss out. You know, don't what I'm saying? Just assume it is just because they have ADHD. That's not all people with ADHD have good intent.
Facts.
I just feel like that's important to notate.
I think that goes hand in hand with like don't look at these people like who are neurodivergent or anybody period with rose-colored glasses on. You know what I'm saying? Like don't put them on this like like babying them or feeling like oh they have this, so you gotta show grace. There's only so much grace that you should be willing to show. Like cut it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like know when to cut it. And of course celebrate their successes. I think with the flip the coin part, it's like it's not always gonna be things where it's like oh this gets on my nerves, but at the same time like I love it at the same time. But I think it's just about when she says flip the coin, just seeing like the brighter side of this person's like
I mean, that's what she is talking
about. That are affect to their ADHD. Like, let's say like it's annoying that that you don't stick to one, thing. Let's say you love to jump up from topic to topic and learn new things. To me, that's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it may be like frustrating. Cause, like, let's say
sometimes it can frustrate you in the wrong context. Yeah, like when you're trying to stick to one topic.
Right, and it's like, okay, I don't even know how to help you because like you done hopped on 20 different topics. I don't know like to help you build from because you don't know where you want to stick to. Okay. But at the same time, it's like this person is also very skilled at a lot of things, you know what I mean? Or they're easily kind of
looking at that
the positive side of it, yeah.
And then tool number 5 is take care of yourself. And some ways you can go about this are by setting boundaries, engaging outside support, and allowing yourself to have feelings, and taking a break.
With the setting boundaries portion, I've done that with you, you know what I mean? As far as like when we get into arguments or whatever, I set the boundary about how I like to be talked to and I don't like to be talked to. I feel like things can get very intense, and reverting back to the same thing, kind of something talking points go back to the same thing is like just being direct. Like the whole parentified thing as well, like or being parentified is like you gotta set the boundary to be known. Like, hey, I won't be parentified. I won't, I can't play all those roles for you, but I can do this for you. I can't be that for you, but I have my limits, just like every other human has their limits. And engage outside support.
Have you engaged outside support?
I've never done that. I don't know, man, because you don't meet a lot of people. Like I don't know, I don't talk to nobody. You know what I mean? I don't really have community like I would like. So, but I feel like it is important though, because if you meet other individuals who may be going through the same thing, then you have community to lean on, and you can bounce off each other, like how another group of people might handle a situation, whether they're dealing with their family, who may be dealing with somebody who is neurodivergent, or if they're like in a relationship, they can give
go on, mosquito.
They can give you tips and stuff. But yeah, man, I think it is important to have like community, have support. You know what I mean? Or even seek therapy. Have a therapist where you can talk about as a heart like how it feels to have a partner who is neurodivergent and how express your frustrations, be open about your frustrations and your feelings. I guess that's
how yourself to have feelings,
Back in the day, I would feel guilty for having feelings because it's like this person really is trying. Like I shouldn't be frustrated. I shouldn't be mad, but I'm human. I'm going to be frustrated. Some things you do may get on my goddamn nerves, and some things I do get on your nerves. That just comes with, dealing with people. It comes with the territory. Now that isn't not to confuse it with if it's like consistently, like every fucking day, then maybe you need to,
right. If it's like, a tumultuous, like up and down roller coaster, there's a problem.
Also, taking a break
kind of goes into what we just said right
take
now.
A break, like, and that also goes into setting boundaries.
You have done that?
Yeah, like, yeah, me, I'm big on a long time. Like, if I need to step away, I'm gonna step away. If I'm like, hey, look, you're overwhelming me right now. Like, yeah, I need a second. And I think I'm getting better with voicing that. Back then, or just overall, like I was a very avoidant person. So, I was never really direct as I needed to be. But I think being with someone who is neurodivergent definitely helped me a lot. Especially you don't play that shit. You prefer directness, and it's teaching me to be more direct and be open, because that's how stuff gets done. That's how things get resolved, and that's how we continue to grow as people.
And I feel like I've always been like direct, but I had a lot more communication issues growing up, and that's actually more reminiscent of the ADHD experience more often. A lot of ADHDers have bad communication skills.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are actually like have people pleasing tendencies and stuff. Whereas like I think because I don't struggle with those certain things, like I obviously have worked on my communication issues, and I've never had for the most part people pleasing tendencies, and so like I don't have a lot of those issues. But a lot of ADHDers, they're not good at being straight up when it comes to saying things. Because of like things like the self-esteem issues that are very prevalent in the community and people placing tendencies and shit like that. So oftentimes people not going to be direct, honestly, in the ADHD community.
Right.
That's more, I think, sometimes an outlier with me.
We're trying to get better at this. We still do it. Sometimes we both get so excited that I feel like you do it more though. But
I do.
Yeah. It'll talk it over.
I think I do it. I mean, I don't know. It depends. Like I feel like there's some periods of times where you do it more, and some periods of time where I do it more. I don't know.
So we just make clear, like, hey, like, hold on, let me finish my sentence. Or sometimes we're getting good at stopping ourselves and being like, hey, my bad. You keep going, keep talking, because like we be so into the conversation that I think we just work well though, because like we talk about 20 different things.
Right, we going from thing to thing, but we catch ourselves. I know I catch myself all the time. Like I'll interrupt her, and I'm like, my bad, I just interrupted you. Can you go ahead? And then you'll either A, tell me like you'll finish what you're saying, or you'll B, like let me keep going, and vice versa. We do it together. So we work on that together. But that is it for the toolbox. So before I go into the author's closing thoughts, I'm about to let you go. Are there any closing thoughts that you would like to impart onto the people?
Yeah, have patience with yourself and the people who you love. Yeah, I mean, like, show grace to each other, and everything that she touched on. Like, I think it's amazing that there's people out there who care so much to learn about this thing and learn how to love the ones who who have this disability. And I don't even like saying disability. Like, to me, it's like a superpower in a way. I know it can like fuck up your life in a world where it's like it doesn't benefit those who.
It can be a nuisance.
It can be a nuisance. Yeah. It can be a big nuisance.
But depending on how far you're on the spectrum and how it affects you, I think.
Yeah. So I say, show yourself grace, man. If you having breakdowns and you're going through some things, then I'm bad. Okay. I say, seek therapy and love on yourself a little harder, man. Like, be patient with yourself, because I know the world isn't an easy place to be, dealing with this. And if you, I'm not an advocate for like medication, but I don't know.
Are you talking to the brain, to the heart right now?
I'm talking to everybody.
Okay.
Both of y'all. They like, be patient. And I know sometimes like, I guess I can speak up with the hearts directly. Your feelings are valid. How you feel is extremely valid. And just keep playing your part to love the brains. Do what you can to love them, and never forget to love yourself in that process. You know what I mean? Self-love and, all that go hand in hand. So I'll leave y'all with that.
Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the author's closing thoughts. The author knew that she didn't want to repeat her parents' and grandparents' patterns. She didn't want to parent a partner or be parented. She wanted a partner. Capitalize that. A partner she could respect, someone that would respect her, and she also wanted to respect herself. When she moved in with her current partner, they had a conversation about splitting up the mental and physical workloads of housekeeping. They made a plan, tweaked it as needed, and it worked out great. They worked together as equals, and they split up the work equitably. And by equitably, this means that housework doesn't get split up exactly down the middle. It's about taking other factors into consideration, like both of your work hours and other disabilities. Equity in this case will look like focusing on how much free time and energy each person has left over to be able to pursue their interests, hobbies, etc. And also how well are each person's needs getting met. So back to the author. Their plan was great, but they still ended up in the relationship death spiral 3 years later, and she realized that it's because she was still parenting her partner, but in a different way, emotionally. She realized she was taking on the emotional load, and that contributes to a huge part of romantic relationships. When she told her partner that she was tired of doing this, her partner told her simply that he never asked her to do that. And then she realized he was right, that she had took it upon herself to bear the emotional load without even asking him. But the gag is that he was also taking on the load for her, but in different ways, even at his own expense. So they basically both burnt themselves out for each other in different ways. So, what do? They started to do weekly relationship check-ins, and they created another plan, just like they did at the start. You know, it's naive to think that ADHD won't impact a relationship. Acceptance is great, but it's just a place to start, not to end. When you make a plan together, you're able to discuss who does what as adults and partners, not as parents, you know? And this doesn't mean everything will go perfectly all the time, but this is where the check-ins come in. If you make the effort to check in consistently, you can tweak the plan as needed before the shit goes all the way downhill. And just a side note, write everything down. If one or both of you have ADHD, somebody gonna forget everything that was discussed. So every time you go and you make a plan, you tweak the plan, make sure you're writing it down, okay? Going back to what I was saying, it's not easy to change old habits, but you know, when you want to better for yourself and your partner, you enact the necessary changes, even if it takes time. And at the time of writing this book, they have been together for 4 years, and the relationship is in the best place it had ever been in, and it's the healthiest relationship either one of them had ever been in as well. And although they don't always end up having weekly check-ins, they do always make sure to address it and make time for those honest, non-judgmental conversations on how to get back on track. And they notice that when they plan together, it ends up being less work for the both of them. That is all for the author's closing thoughts. I think she worded everything perfectly. And with that, wormlings, that'll conclude this video. We only got one more chapter left. One more chapter to go through, and that'll be all for this book. So I will see y'all on the next one, okay?